outline. Like, is the
Yeah.
story, they expect the story to come first, and then, the alpha, and then the beta, and then, quality control, and then
It's their own
launch.
outline. Yeah, the
In that
development
order.
outline, yeah.
And Ken Levine was just like, don't hold your breath. The story won't be done till maybe a month before the game launches. I'm sitting there like, and I'm listening.
What?
And I'm listening. Exactly.
I love that.
I'm listening to that, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, I couldn't work that way. But Ken Levine's games have been so amazing, and some of the best we've seen this generation with the BioShock series.
Oh, yeah.
Having that open-ended, that freedom to change up until like the very end, almost, I'm sure is not only like liberating on the creative end of things, but also leaves you.
Unbelievable!
Shut up, Scotty D. I love Ruby Rod, but shut up. Leaves you with the ability to go in and change if you see something's just not working. Whereas I'm sure other games that have these development outlines in place and follow them to the letter are just constricted and can't do it, and their games maybe suffer for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think another thing that I really wanted to delve into with this was, the importance of a character-driven story. And they did, I think did they talk about, I guess you might not have gotten that far. Well, then I'm not going to struggle to remember, but I'll just say then, and they might have said this while they were talking, games with a character-driven story are always the games whose single-player campaigns are not only remembered, but lauded for long periods of time. People are always going to remember the BioShock story, though I don't think the BioShock story is as character-driven as, say, the Uncharted series, but...
no, not even remotely.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually kind of interesting, actually.
Well, Ken Levine said he talked about building stories around intriguing characters, which is exactly what he did in BioShock. It's just they're not as
they're not the
fleshed
main
out,
yeah,
or as imbued with as much personality as the Uncharted series.
It's true. And I think that's really what people love who love the Uncharted series, the characters. The story, the Indiana Jones-esque story is always really entertaining and cool, but I could not care less about what supernatural power that's not really supernatural is that Drake is going to uncover by the end of each game. I care about the journey he goes on and the people he meets and how he interacts with them. I mean, that's kind of what saddens me that you never got a chance to play Uncharted 3, because I actually started replaying it because I listened to this podcast and I was like, I really got to replay Uncharted 3 right now. And I started doing that just yesterday. And I got to tell you, man, some of the best interactions in the entire series, if not any game that I've ever played, come in that game. They're so strong. They're so good. And I think that just sort of adding character to the characters is just so much more important than stringing together a bunch of set pieces. And that's what's funny and ironic, is that's what Uncharted does, but they have such a strong character development within it that you don't think about the set as much as the characters when you remember the game. So,
all right, yeah, definitely. I don't know, man. Do you want to move on, or is that it? I have nothing left to say about it, especially since it is concerning somebody else's podcast.
It's true, yeah, it's true. It's just that it's a really interesting thing to listen to, because I should also add, the first thing that struck me was how weird it is to listen to developers talk off the cuff. We're so used to seeing them in interview on big websites and like Game Trailers TV and stuff, basically saying in very scripted PR-esque speak, what everyone wants to hear. This is actually listening to them talk about stuff in a serious way. I didn't really want to get into them talking about gamer entitlement, for example, but it's that aspect of it is actually a really interesting part of the conversation too, because they're not hostile, but they're also not apologists for gamers either. They take a very, very responsible middle ground to it.
Right.
So pretty much the exact opposite of us. So.
Yeah, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah,
those
that's
two
true.
They've earned the right.
That's true.
They've put out amazing games that millions upon millions and upon millions of people have enjoyed. So they're not going to get any repercussions from publishers for anything they say on those fucking shows. They've earned the right to say what they think and not be apologetic for it.
And it's true, and I'm glad that we can actually hear it, though, is what I'm saying. It's surprising, but it's so refreshing. I've never really had any feelings of ill will towards Levine or towards Amy Hennig when I've seen them in interview. I just am kind of like, okay, well, this is boring. They're saying the exact same thing. We're doing XYZ that no one's ever seen before, whatever. But hearing them talk about games now in a from a creative stance is just, it was just so refreshing in so many ways. So I highly suggest people check it out. There is a story on Pixelpocalypse with a link to the podcast. Give it a listen. I think from there we can probably move on, though.
Right. So. Scotty, hit me with a douchebag.
You are a douchebag.
There it is.
Why? Because I love
story. I just wanted to get that in before we started talking about Adam Sessler leaving G4.
Oh, yeah.
It's the coolest fucking story I've ever heard in my entire life. That's insane.
Yeah, it is insane. So Adam Sessler, not at G4 anymore. It's that was kind of a piss poor segue, but whatever. So apparently, due to contract disputes,
which we don't know anything more about, right? We just know that that's what it is.
It was money. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying we don't know the actual details. So.
I mean, to be quite honest, the guy was pretty much doing everything on that network to begin with anyway. I mean, he was basically the only true games journalist. If you could, call anybody a games journalist, it would be Adam Sessler. And he was the only one with any credibility on that network whatsoever. I'm fairly sure that they went, and G4 has been on the decline since Spike TV bought it, or E bought it, or whoever the hell bought it. It's been terrible since it's switched from Tech TV. And started playing cops and Star Trek reruns and cheaters all the time. But so I'm fairly sure he walked into an office, said, "My contract's up, I want more money." They said no, and he was like, "All right, I'm fucking out of here. Why would I stick around?"
Yeah.
But anyways, and it got me thinking. He'll land on his feet. I'm sure I'm sure he's already gotten job offers. Especially from the big media outlets like your IGNs and your GameSpots and your Game Informers and your whatever, Game Trailers. I'm sure Game Trailers was the first one on the phone.
Oh yeah.
They got to get rid of that Jeff Keighley, and if they could replace him with an Adam Sessler, that would just jump their stock. But so yeah, he's gone, and it got me to thinking: does G4 have any credibility left? I don't think there's a single person there that network, and not that they would even care, because they obviously don't. If you look at their programming and you look at all the outlets that have dropped them, like Dish Network and what's the other big satellite company?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, whatever it is.
It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, they don't really have anyone. So, because they don't have anyone really left in terms of on the games end of things, you think that's like the end of...
They've got their Morgan Webbs, and sure, she's a gamer, we all know it, but she's still she doesn't have the presence or the knowledge or the intelligence or the likability, I would say, of an Adam Sessler. I mean, and you know what? It's not even likability. You just hear the guy talk. You could tell he knows what he's talking about. He means what he says, and you have to respect him for that. Nobody else at that network has it. And, I mean, which bugs me, because it's like, if anybody watches Attack of the Show, it's, Kevin Pereira, he's actually a really smart guy and does have intelligent, important things to say and an opinion that's worth hearing. But nobody lets it, they're too busy... putting out big-titted women and doing
everybody knows you never go full retard.
Exactly, they're going full retard.
They really
are.
Like,
I don't know why they don't let him, cut loose and actually say something of import once in a while. And maybe the network would have a little bit more credibility and wouldn't be sitting here, and people wouldn't be wondering, is G4 worth a damn anymore now that Sessler's gone?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I think that not Attack of the Show, but the show that he was on was
X-Play.
It was X-Play. Yeah, X-Play probably going to be rendered irrelevant eventually if what you're saying is true. Yeah, it'll be Poodoo. It is Poodoo. I mean, at this point, with that logic. But I guess what I'm saying,
Morgan Webb, the last 5 years that Morgan Webb's just been collecting a fucking paycheck on that goddamn show. It's like you watched the first couple seasons of X-Play, they were really good. You could tell everybody on the show was excited to be there. They wanted to make a great show. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. It's like Sessler moved into like the editor of all things video game at G4. I'm not exactly sure what his title was. And he started doing that, and they brought in Blair Herter to take off some of the pressure, and Blair Herter is just a lightweight. He's just an empty suit, basically, not a suit, but, an empty set of clothes on the set. And Morgan Webb's putting in no effort anymore. And now that he's gone, you're right. X-Play will be gone here fairly quickly.
I can't imagine.
With G4.
I don't think G4 will be gone, though, at least not anytime soon, because they do have, I think that they have quite an audience. I mean, they have an association with the Nerdist Network, which is fucking huge now. I mean, I don't imagine that the network itself will collapse because of his departure. I think that X-Play probably will, but maybe.
See, I'm not, okay. Fine, G4 might stick around, but the people I guarantee you, it's do you think Kevin Pereira is going to be there forever? You think Chris Hardwick's going to be there forever? I mean, honestly,
I'm ready to go in, Coach. Just give me a chance.
Yeah, Chris Hardwick will probably start. The Nerdist Network will become its own thing eventually. It's already going that way now. But I'm just
fucking terrible. That guy is such a swarmy little douche. I hate him.
Yeah, I don't want to segue.
Reason that he's been booted off every fucking hosting job he's ever had. I think this is the longest one he's had.
Yeah,
he's not even a regular.
Wait, Chris Hardwick?
Yeah, he's on that show.
Oh, Attack of the Show, you mean?
Twice a week?
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the Nerdist. It's well, that's his thing. He can't get booted from his own thing. I do. I have my own reservations about Chris Hardwick. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with his podcast and with all of his shit. But yeah, he will not. It won't matter if he's there or not. I'm just saying that, it won't affect his career if he suddenly stops being host of Attack of the Show. If he stops being host of Attack of the Show, though, it might affect G4, or co-host. What does he do? He, presents shit every so often, right?
Yeah, he does, tech reviews once in a while. Or,
yeah.
He'll go somewhere and cover something, but he's not a major part of the show. He's not what people want to see.
Not necessarily, yeah.
It's just terrible because they keep bringing it. It started with Olivia Munn. If you guys remember Olivia Munn, I mean, she's pretty much fallen off the face of the earth. The girl has no career anymore.
Bitchin'.
Yeah, except for those photos that leaked earlier this year. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the naked photos. Those were pretty decent.
They weren't naked. They weren't naked. They were just whatever. I have no idea. I never looked at them, I swear.
Well, it started with her. And they brought in this token hot chick, knew nothing about games, knew nothing about tech, and she was just eye candy for Pereira to play off of, And I think they were looking for another Morgan Webb, and they thought they could train somebody to and have that and have it be credible, and it wasn't. But for some reason, it worked with the fanboys, and now we got this Candace Bailey chick, another token hot chick out there, and it doesn't help the credibility. And I don't know, we're kind of getting off the point of the network's it's an empty shell now that Sessler's gone. I don't think there's anything there that is really redeeming, unless they do a complete positional shift, bring back more original programming, and actually let guys like Kevin Pereira cut loose and say something of import once in a while.
And they might. I mean, we have no idea. I don't really know anything about the sort of executives in charge of G4 TV, but they might recognize that too.
I think it's Comcast owned, and I don't think they care. I think they pretty much are we run the network on the bare minimum budget. We don't give them any money, so fuck it, and it brings in enough to keep it running.
They're gonna have to we're gonna have to wait and see, obviously, if the numbers if the number of viewers drops off substantially enough, Comcast is gonna pull the plug. I mean,
absolutely. Well, that's why DirecTV and DirecTV. That's the way I couldn't pull that earlier.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I think DirecTV and Dish Network dropped them because nobody was watching. Nobody watched they used to be pretty decent. You'd have original programming, you always had Attack of the Show and X-Play, but then you had they would play anime and
it was a good nerd
Show
channel.
Cheaters that was actually about cheats in video games and all that bullshit, and I don't know, it was a lot better when it was Tech TV. I mean, it was so long ago I can't even remember all the original programming they had, but it was pretty decent. And it just sucks now that's what represents gaming culture right now, and whatever Spike is doing with game trailers, which is also kind of balls.
Yeah, I'm not like I'm all for the idea of like gaming websites becoming big and getting like having a lot of money and therefore a lot of resources, but then that's like when you start running the risk of becoming a bit. I really hate using the word corporation in a villainizing way, but we get kind of corporatized at that point, and it's just and then things start to become dependent on the personalities even more so at that point.
Yeah, well, they have, like I said, they have decent personalities, or at least they used to.
Yeah,
Sessler
and that's what
was a